Okay, hello friends. So today again we have Manoj with us. Manoj is having 15 years of total IT experience, and from last 5 years he is working as a Scrum Master, and currently he is holding 5 offer letters in his hand. So congratulations, first of all, Manoj. Great.
Thank you so much.
And today's session is going to be for Siemens Healthcare, which he has just given recently the interview, and he has cleared that interview. So today our discussion will be based on that. So Manoj, before we start, why don't you tell us about yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure, Sunan. So once again, thank you so much for your efforts and the channel you created, right? It is really helping, not like me, it is helping to most of the people, whoever even connecting with me. Yeah. So once again, thank you so much for your effort and help and support for everything. Yeah, so coming back to my experience, I have 15 years of experience in IT industry. I started my career as a software engineer, and while growing my experience, I learned many technology on the way. And right now, from last 4.5 years, almost like 5 years, I'm working as a Scrum Master. And but during my Scrum Master journey, I learned a lot, but technically, even practically, the knowledge is what really we need in the industry. That was lack of knowledge, I could say. So I got to know all these things fortunately from your channel and talking with you. Yeah, so now I'm here, as you said, like 5 offer. Yeah. That was a good achievement for me, if I say. Yeah.
No, no, it's all your hard work, nothing else. Okay, great, great guys. You guys make me proud, every time.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wanted to add one thing,
Yeah,
Sunan.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely it's a hard work for the candidate who is preparing, but behind this, someone should be guide and someone should support, right? So that person is you.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you all. Okay. Okay. So Manoj, are you ready?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So here comes the very first one. Okay.
Yeah.
The interesting thing which I found, like one or two questions are a little bit scenario based, and these are a little bit different from the other question which we already have seen in our previous interviews and all. So the very first one is, for example, your dev team members are working toward meeting the sprint goal,
Yep.
and meanwhile your client and product owners are facing, or they are forcing to implement some important feature in the current or ongoing sprint, and your capacity, you have done your capacity planning, you know what is the capacity for your dev team, and you know that they are not able to complete or accept the new work in this ongoing sprint, right? So as
All
a
right.
scrum master, how you will communicate this to your client customer, and how you will inform that my team is not in position to complete accept the new work. So what will be your approach, how you will tackle this kind of situation?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sunant. I could say, as a Scrum Master, because the moment I'm mingling with the team, I know what's going on. If I do not know the real picture of and like what's going on, then it is very tough as a Scrum Master to handle or to share the things going on or transferable with the stakeholders, right? So what I would like to say here, like I have the root cause analysis, what happened and how where my team is currently, and how I'm going to approach with the stakeholders saying, see, there are 4 features we started working on, and currently my team has been completed 2 features, and there are 2 features are ongoing. If you are planning to add the most recent feature, whatever you are expecting to add, if you add, what benefit we will get, and what are the risk or challenges are there. If we want to replace the 2 features whatever already ongoing and we can remove from the sprint plan, then what happened? So all those root cause analysis with detailed explanation I would like to show to the stakeholder, and I would put the shoe to stakeholder saying, like, you tell me like how we can move forward. If this is the risk and if you are agree, then we can plan on. So my intention here is, Sunant, I don't like to say no directly. I will say the situations and the approach, the way I will tell, the stakeholder should understand, and stakeholder himself will tell, okay, fine. If this is the case, you can plan to take care. This is for sure in the next sprint. So that way I used to communicate with the stakeholders. Yeah, this is what my approach.
Okay, great. And do you also want to add in this about the change management process? So, for example, per se, just for this sake of this question, let's assume that your stakeholder is agree with all the risk and the contingency plan which you have shown to him. But what we normally do that we can replace the similar kind of user story, so that to balance out our capacity. And sometimes also what happened that though my sprint goal, uh, let's assume like for the sprint goal going to be for my sprint to be successful, let's say I have 7 user stories, but then I have 2 or 3 more user stories which are of less priority. So sometimes when we have this kind of situation, we can replace either the similar kind of user story again with the buy-in with the product owner that we are not able to finish it, something like that. And again, maybe we can also swap the low priority user story. But the important thing over here is the team should agree on that part.
Exactly.
We Scrum Master, we should always bring our team and tell them that this is the situation. And yeah, they can, if they feel, team can feel that, yeah, we can do that. We can swap some of the user story. They are agree with the risk. You and everyone is supporting them, Scrum Master, PO, everyone supporting them with respect to the deliverables. Then it's a doable. But as you rightly mentioned that we should always try to, in a way, push to the next sprint, even though, because it's just like a 2 week sprint, right? So
Yeah.
if it makes sense, push it to the next sprint. If not, try to come up with the change management process, contingency plan and all, and we can do
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, great, good. Okay, let's move on to the other one. Okay,
Sure.
so you are going to work with your new team, and all the resources are new into that agile way of working. So, as per the project need, these resources are though very talented and very senior resources, but for whatever good reason, these team members, I will not use the word resources, but the team members are not ready to attend the daily stand-ups or retrospective meeting for whatever the reason. So how you are going to work with this kind of team members? Because in all the team, these 1 or 2 times, this kind of difficult team members are there. So how we can deal with this kind of team members?
Yeah, Sunam. So it is really interesting questions, and the challenge as a Scrum Master, how we are planning to handle, right? So yeah. So what my opinion here, like I would like to tell or guide the team if they are very much talented, and maybe the technical area or based on the requirement by for development, they are very much talented. I agree for this, and it is a great, I could say, like, I am great to get this kind of resources or team members in my team, right? But even though when we are working in a Scrum, I would like to guide them or teach them the ceremony, the importance of the ceremonies, whatever we are following up. I will not force them to do this, but I will tell them what is the benefit we will get. If you don't do, what will happen, what the lack of challenges we will get here. So all those things I will guide. So one thing I would like to highlight here, agile mindset. So that is something not possible over the night, right? So we should plan, guide them, teach them again and again. So slowly the team will understand the real use of this. So on that way, I will try to motivate them, and I will appreciate for the improvement, and they will get to know, like, why we need this daily huddle call or the sprint planning, whatever. So the team will get to know based on the experience when they will go on. Yeah, this is what my approach, Sunant. If you want to add anything, please.
Yeah. So can you also elaborate? So when we say daily stand-up, right? So can you
Yeah.
just give us a what's the importance of daily stand-up? So let's say some team member is not joining their daily stand-up, what he or she is losing, and what are the benefit which he can get if he's joining those daily stand-up? For an example, can you elaborate that also a little bit?
Yeah. See, for example, I have let's say like two resources are there, right? Two resources is very less. Let's say like example like four resources we are working together. One resource is not coming and joining the huddle call. He's thinking like, okay, I will ping Manoj and will ask Manoj what you are doing, and the rest work I will do continue from here. Let's say like he's thinking in this way. What happened if the third resource is started working on that particular work, and this first resource is not aware of this? So the challenge will come there, right? Both will think like, okay, I will start this particular work today, and both are starting in the same work without knowing each other what they are doing. Okay, so some kind of like misunderstanding will come into the picture, saying like, okay, we thought something and we are working on something. All those things will come. So if you are in a huddle call, daily stand-up call, then what will happen, like each one will know like where we are today and what is the plan for doing this. And after this call, one more benefit will be what are the challenges or impediments on the way, and how many impediments has been completed. That also we will get to know. Okay, and as a scrum master, it will be easy for me to share the status report, because I used to share the status report daily. So if I got to know the status, whatever team is coming up, that will be helpful for me. So that's why I will guide in this way. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to add a small thing over here. So daily stand-up is more on a for a team part to collaborate, to work with the challenges which you mentioned, right? And
Yeah.
more on a to basically it's kind of replanning which they are doing. That okay, I have completed this much work yesterday, and this is my thing which I'm going to do today, and these are my challenges. So if someone already have worked with those kind of challenges, he and she can also help those people, right? So
Yeah.
basically, it's more like a collaborative kind of event where everyone can collaborate and work with each other. A small thing which I little bit differ over here, that this is not at all for Scrum Master for any sort of status and all, honestly. Yeah, I mean, as a Scrum Master, we have a lot of other things, reporting and all those things. Again, it's varies from organization to organization. But again, you might also already aware about that Scrum Master is not at all, I mean, mandatory to be
Important. Yeah.
part of daily Scrum calls, right? So just a small correction over here, and nothing wrong with the answer. But yeah, just want to update this so that the right message should reach out to the people who are watching this video, Manoj.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I
Okay.
agree with you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. So here come the third one. So again, everyone knows that Scrum Master need not to be the technical guy. And what if, let's say, if you will suspect that the dev team is not working properly, or they might have problem in, or he or she can have some issue with the technical skill set. So how in this kind of scenario, how Scrum Master going to help the team members? Can you throw some light on that part?
Yeah. Good question, Sunant. Again, I would like to highlight here, like, let's say, like, I am not from technical background. Even if I am technical background also, if the team is working for something new technology, that is also new for me. Okay. So in this case, I should have trust on the team. So there are four values of Scrum, right? Those things should be aware of as a Scrum Master. And next thing is, team, they are working collaboratively by discussing with each other, and they know like what they are doing. I should trust upon them. And really, and definitely there should be some challenges, or some third party voice will come to me, and I could think like, okay, they could have completed this in short time, but they are taking more time. So that kind of, if conflict is coming to me, what I should do here, like I should discuss with the technical architect, whoever is involved. I should understand like whether this piece of work, definitely it should take some time. It's not like I'm inquiring about the team. It is the interest of myself, like how I'm trying to understand about this piece of work. So on that way, I will like to investigate and try to find out whether this piece of work will take that much time. And if I thought like, okay, no, team is needs some space is there where team needs some improvement, then I can guide them. But I cannot tell them like you are coming up with something wrong estimation, or you should move something. But I can guide them saying like, guys, can we try in some other way? This functionality is might be taking some time. Don't you think like we can try some other options? Do you think like the other option is applicable for us? Something like that. I will involve into the team to talking all. And yeah, so this is what I'm thinking. What is your opinion, Sunal?
Okay, great. So, so the problem statement is like one of my team member, for example, that he or she is not performing well technically. So there are a couple of things which we can do as a Scrum Master, and I'm just going to tell in short. I will not take more time. So very first thing is, first of all, let's accept this, that okay, he or she is having some issues. So talk to him, her, uh, tell him like how he or she is performing compared to other team members. Ask him like, what do you think about yourself? uh, do not blame him for anything. There might be a number of reasons. Maybe he or she just joined the organization, or he's a fresher, or there might be a number of reasons that he might not be performing, maybe some personal issues and something like that, right? So because we are assuming, if we have taken anyone in our team, in our Scrum team, we are assuming that that person is having a sufficient skill to work in this team. That's the reason he's a part of our team. But for whatever reason, if that the performance is not that great, so first of all, ask them, sit with them, ask them like, what's happening? What do you think? What help you require from us? It can be in sort of some certification, in sort of some CBT trainings, classroom-based trainings, or some one-to-one mentorship session with some senior folks, something like that. So if first of all they should accept that there is some gap, now then we can work on that gap, that okay, let's jot it down, a plan that can be of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And maybe like you will sit with them every alternative a week or something like that, to just check the progress, how he or she making improvement, motivate them. So these are the few things which also we can do. Take outside help. So for example, some specific domain knowledge is lacking in your team or team members, right? So you can ask some other expertise, SMEs from other teams, to come and impart that kind of trainings to your team members, because everyone learn from each other. And in an organization you will definitely find those kind of people. So these are the couple of things which we can do to make the performance. And jot it down everything whenever you are having, because everything should be evidence based. So whenever, and it can be just one-to-one between you and your team member, but it should be properly documented, that okay, this is what we are making a progress. Because what I have observed, it's again a rare thing, but let's say assume that out of one, if there is one person who is, after even giving all the support, if he's not performing or she's not performing well, right? So I think the last option should be that okay, you can maybe ask him to join some other project or something like that, because of one person your complete team is the work is going to be hampered, right? Other team members will be demotivated if they feel like that. And it should be open among everyone that he or she is doing well. And you can also publish, I mean obviously the buy-in from him, that People should know that, okay, the things is working and he or she is also trying his or her level best. And, he's also working on some kind of improvement plan and all those things. So team will also support him or her in that kind of journey, right? So these are the small things which, I mean, everyone has to help those one or two team members, right? So yeah, these are the small things also which we can do.
Yeah, sure. Agree with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to the other one. Yeah, I think this will be pretty straight for you. So what are the different matrices which you are using to measure the code quality of your project?
Yeah, actually, to be frank, I do not have any fixed kind of matrices here. But what I used to monitor, once we deliver the piece of product, we used to monitor the defects are getting open, right? So if there is any defect leakage, then we used to check like how much line of code we have completed and how many defects are getting open during this release. So those kind of calculation we used to do. There is something called defect density, right? So that matrix will help us, but we are not using such matrices over here. But yeah, I have some idea about defect density. If you could add something here, Sunand, it will be helpful.
Yeah, sure. Again, I'm just telling very quickly. So there are a lot of quality matrices which anyone can use. So for example, user story acceptance, review effectiveness, defect leakage, defect density, defect removal efficiency, testing effectiveness, test coverage. So all these will come under the quality part. So these are the few matrices which we can use. And again, it's not only about the agile, but any sort of project also. So these are the, we can use. And again, when we talk about matrices, we should understand why we are doing matrices, like what's the use of matrices. Sometimes people don't know like what's the use of matrices, and we should always challenge the status quo. So if you are joining any organization, right, especially the new Scrum Masters, so always check, okay, they just give you some sort of tool or template or Excel sheet to fill, but always ask, what's the purpose of this matrices? How we are going to use this kind of data? That's more important. We just blindly follow whatever is told to us or given in a KT, and we just do just like that. So always ask like, what's the purpose? Who's are using these matrices? How effective are these matrices from last whatever the data which we have? Whether we actually improving or not. If we are not improving, there is no point of using those matrices. There's of no use, right? So yeah, these are the small things which, with respect to matrices, again, is very broad or big topic, but yeah. Okay, good. And what about, though now this word servant is not there in our new Scrum 2020 guide, but looks like the interviewer may be not aware about that. And the reason they might have asked you this question, like, what is servant leadership style, and explain your leadership style. So Manoj, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so when someone is asking like what is servant leadership, my opinion will be something like giving the service, okay, to the team. That's all. So I am giving service to the team. I am helping. So as per my understanding, servant leadership is someone who can help to achieve the goal to the team. Okay, and team should get comfortable while they are working in a space. So my main intention here to be collaboratively understand team's need and make things ready for the team so that they will feel comfortable to share their opinion with me, and they also can gain themselves in the area where they are working. So that's what my understanding as a servant leadership in simple language. Okay, and my leadership style, only servant leadership style is not enough as a scrum master. And yes, you told rightly, saying like in it as per the guideline, that is not there. But yeah, there are something like the leadership style, whatever we are following up, it should be like what do you say, the team should understand what the goal, and this the team should have like win-win target like to come up. So whenever the team is taking some decision, I should appreciate, or I should guide them, or I should give some options to choose from their end. Okay, and whatever the decision should come off from the team end, that should be the final one, because finally they are going to work on this, so they should have some comfortable. So if I say like there are something called autocratic, so such kind of leadership style I prefer. Yeah. So again, I would like to ask you to add something here, because I'm not comfortable even. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, this is your interview. But anyway, so just in a quick, in a nutshell, someone who can promote innovation, someone who can empower the team members, someone who can assure the well-being of all the team members who is working with them. Okay, someone who will try to develop the leadership qualities in others. Okay, someone who can be empathic, someone who can listen, you know, someone who is following the values, whatever the 5 values which we have, is for me is a true servant leader, you know.
Okay.
So these are the small things which we can mention. Anyway, we can elaborate it further. Someone is asking this, but yeah, in a nutshell, we can conclude like that. Okay, good. Okay, let's jump to the next one. Okay, so this is related with the estimation, and so the question is from last couple of sprint, your estimation is not that great, and your product owner is not happy with the estimation which teams are doing. They are failing again and again. So how you are going to work with your team on the estimation part? How you will communicate this to other stakeholders?
Yeah. So this was a challenge question actually for me, Sunil, because I never faced such situations. But the way I cover this, like I told, see, if the issue, the estimation issue is for first time or occasionally once, that is manageable. But if it is coming again and again, then it's a challenge. So anyway, when the estimation was not correct during the first sprint, and we got to know this, then definitely we used to discuss during your sprint retrospective call, and we should capture this in our retrospective documentation, or whatever we are following up, right, in the in our organization. So that should be highlighted, and when you are presenting to the stakeholder, you should say clearly the root cause and the mitigation plan, and going forward how we can avoid such situations. So those things should be clear to the stakeholder, so that stakeholder will have confidence with you, saying like, okay, if there are some leakages happening, then someone is there to guide or to handle the team. Okay, so that is what my approach here. So definitely, once the estimation can be wrong because of so and so reason, anything, but as a scrum master or as a team, we should understand the root cause, why it happened, and that should be clearly documented with the retrospective action items. And
So,
then
so
going
what do
forward,
you?
we should.
Yeah, sorry. So what do you think? Can you just think of any one or two situation why the team is consistently having the wrong estimation? What may be the root cause?
Yeah, constantly it could be like technical challenges, technical
Yeah,
understanding.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Correct.
if that is technical challenge, then we should arrange some some KT session for them in that particular area, something like that. Okay, in my case, one situation, so I'm just trying to share with you that what happened. No, there was some module which the team is not aware of at all, and that is different kind of technical understanding. It's like technical knowledge they need for this piece of module, not for all other. So that part of module, like it was taken care by client, but unfortunately, while we are working on that particular module, that piece of module, client clearly mentioned to the business analyst saying like, this is what we need in this sprint. Okay, so it was agreed by the developer when we did estimation, but unfortunately, whatever team assumed, that was not come off based on their understanding. So they need more time to understand the technical knowledge on this particular technical aspect, and they to implement the same thing. So they took some time. So that was clearly documented. Like if in case such new things will come, what we will do and what is our approach. Yeah, that's all.
Okay, good. I just want to add a small thing over here, and obviously it will going to help a lot of other team members. So only thing which I can sense over here is the missing of the reference wall. I mean, there are different names of that. So someone call it reference catalog or reference user story wall, or I mean, there are a number of names for that. But the bottom line is, if you have some wall of reference, yeah, so that how that wall of reference has been created in the beginning, right? You have your experts, they came across, and these wall of references are varies from project to project, organization to organization, right? But once it been set, it will be really easy for the team to do the estimation, right? And anyway, these are just a forecast, right? Forecast number. So the very basic thing, if it's happened continuously, so first of all, this I am sure that will be the case, that the wall of reference is completely missing, whatever the catalog or whatever you name it, that is completely missing, because you cannot have that much variance, so that's the first thing that is completely missing. Other thing is, it is there but it is not updating. Okay, so though maybe someone has created that long back, maybe 6 months back or 1 year back, but over the period of time, for whatever reason, we have not updated that. Maybe the work which we are doing currently is not the same which we have done 1 year back, right? But still we are using the old wall of reference, so that might be the other reason. So we have to consistently update as and when required our wall of reference over the period of time. So those are the things which I feel, if we will be there, it will be definitely going to help. Anyway, and all those things are there, as you mentioned, like, yeah, the dependencies, maybe the technical user stories, but yeah, all this thing can be covered with the definition of ready, and all these things will be covered over there. And all those, like, okay, user story should be, smart enough, and this and that, all those things will be there. But if this will be there, the wall of reference kind of thing, that will be great. Your half of the challenges will be resolved over there.
Great. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for adding this.
Yeah. Okay, no problem. Okay, so now come the last one, or the important one, and again mostly asked. So your client is complaining about the team velocity is not improving over the period of time. So how you look into this, and what you will do as a Scrum Master to help your team to increase the velocity. So yeah, sometime I don't like this question, but for whatever reason it's coming again and again, so I have to ask you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Please go ahead.
yes. Yeah. So what my opinion here is, might be the stakeholder is need to understand the way they are expecting the product. Okay, I will guide them that the releases whatever we are planning to give you, right, it should be productivity, not the velocity. And I will tell the difference between the velocity, the expectation, what are they are thinking about the velocity and the releases. So when we are giving the release, how the productivity of this, I am always looking for the productivity releases where we are giving defectless. It's not like pure defect like 100%, but yeah, So whatever I'm giving, that is the importance here, not the velocity. And velocity is not constant, or it's not, it can be fluctuate. It can't be increase and it can't be decrease. Okay, it's not, what I mean to say, like, velocity is not the measurement for productivity. That's what I want to show them. Okay, I will clearly mention all those items so that the stakeholder or whoever is interested to understand, they can get a clear picture of this, and they will understand. Yeah, this is what my approach.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So again, I'm not going to add much over here, but yeah, but like small one or two things which we can do over here. As you mentioned that, so the idea is the focus should be on quality.
Yes.
So if I am delivering the quality stuff, even though my velocity is consistent, like, okay, I'm giving like 30, 35, 40, whatever. Again, the number is not relevant over here, but if the consistency is there with the proper quality work, I think that's great. Yeah, but as and when we are progressing in our project, the learning curve, obviously it will should go up, right? So there might be couple of things which we can do. So we should track different matrices. Just now we discussed about a lot of matrices.
Yes.
So we should see like what's happening over there, what sort of data we are getting, and always use your matrices in combination.
Exactly.
You cannot use like one matrix, in a silo. So always use like, okay, the defect density, the defect leakage, and all those things. So it will give you all what kind of test, test cases, whatever the are pass or fail over the period of time, can the automation can be happen, and all those things. Because the moment you bring some sort of automation in your team, obviously it will help. It will, the efforts will be obviously will be more. Most of the work can be automated. So
Yeah.
that's where the innovation part came into the picture. So for the focus should be on quality. You can streamline your testing part, because again, yeah, I mean that's the thing which we can work on, and yeah, then I think we are good. So the idea should be like we should be focused, we should be consistent, and if possible, we should have a different kind of cross skill, as we know, right? Our Scrum team should be cross-functional kind of thing. So if we can do multiple, skill, which our team members can have, then obviously it is going to help our team in a long run. So maybe in the beginning we have only one or two skills in our set, but always encourage your team members to learn something new. So it will obviously help you as a team to grow and increase. Obviously, all this thing will add on, and your velocity will obviously will increase. So yeah, these are the small things which we can do. Again, it's a very big, large topic. We cannot cover everything over here, but yeah, the small things here and there. Okay, good. Okay, great. Yeah, I think we are done with our session, and I think it's a good one. Hopefully, you and other people will enjoy it. And yeah,
Sure.
thanks, Manoj, for your time. And I'm sure best of luck. And join. Tell us later on, maybe in the next session, which company you are joined finally.
Yes, sure. I will share this. And one more point I just wanted to add here. So whatever session I could cover so far, and I could see like the way we are discussing here, and you have added some points. I pulled you to add and correct few points that definitely will help the viewers, whoever look see this video. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sunant.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for your effort and help, support, everything. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.